Amongst all of the very new gen shonens, especially like real new, like within the last kind of, I just go with not so much as a year or so. I just been going with like 100 chapters, but relatively since kind of like the start of My Hero Academia, it's been kind of like this line of the new gen shonens. Like I said, My Hero, Black Clover, now Kimetsu no Yaiba's surging. Eden Zero, I loved Eden Zero. Chainsaw Man, loving that. Another series that I think will explode even more when it gets an anime. It's already doing really well in Japan. Like if you look at like sales numbers, it's like selling out, winning a bunch of awards and crazy stuff. But Jujutsu Kaisen, when it gets an anime, it's gonna absolutely explode as long as they don't kind of fumble and get some horrible animation studio. But the series itself is fantastic. And amongst them, there is one character I think that stands out more than any other. And I've mentioned before, when you have a series, there's always that one character that everyone just seems to like. You look at something like Fairy Tail, you have Gildarts. With My Hero, you have All Might. With Black Clover, you have Yami. With Jujutsu Kaisen, it's Satoru Gojo. And he is. Every single person I've ever talked to about the series loves this character. He's extremely fun. He's got a really cool design. His personality is really nice. Like he has that extremely arrogant kind of like tone to him because he knows how powerful he is. He's one of the only special grade humans in the world, and he's pretty much regarded as one of the most powerful known people potentially ever within the series. There's only been a couple of characters that have really been able to match up in terms of like hype. There's like Yuta, Tengen, Geto, potentially Kamo from a little bit of a flashback, but like even when he talks about Ryumon Sakuna, who is like the main villain of the series, Satoru is like confident he could beat him. Whether or not that's true, he's very arrogant of his own skills, and it's used to not only just like, oh, I know I'm really strong. It's very cocky and used in a fun way, like when he's battling Jogo, and he just does not take him too seriously, and he even like literally at one point he leaves and then comes back and like brings the main character Yuji into the fight so he can like teach him stuff because this is the role model week. And I'm not going to go really into rather anything of the current story because right now in the story I don't want to get too much into that because it's flashbacks and it's before he was a role model. Like if you read season or volume 0 with Yuta, who was the main character of that, which is canon to the series, you actually see a lot about how Satoru really operates. And he, though a member of Jujutsu High, a very important character within their ranks, if not like they're probably their second most important character under Master Tengen. Satoru does not. He's not like some chained dog. Even though he's like probably their greatest battle asset, he's absolutely not someone that falls in line with what they want because similar to Yuta, both the main character of the series and the main character of Volume 0, they were both set up for execution because Yuta had an extremely powerful curse spirit named Rika, who was a special grade, which is the highest known grade we have, and Yuji ended up eating one of Sukuna's fingers, intaking one of the special grade cursed objects and merging with his body. And similar to both cases, even though they're set up for execution, Satoru says, like, when it comes down to it, he will fight for the person in his crew rather than the rules and setup of his superiors. He's much more about his kind of group than anything else. He's a very much protect and, safeguard his. I want to say, like, I kind of just want to compare it to like a duck and a bunch of baby ducks because in reality, that's what they are with Satoru. With Satoru gone there in the large scale of things, a bunch of mostly helpless, like little youngsters in kind of like the world. Because though they are strong in comparison to a lot of stuff, there are a ton of characters that are just beyond them. Like in the battle for the Tokyo versus Kyoto schools, when Hanami showed up, it looked like Hanami was going to finish him off. There were still other extremely powerful cursed spirits within the area. And the only reason that they pulled out and they were able to, one of them pulled out. We don't know how many else were there that probably came along that would have still been a threat. And then one of them two of them rather, just got completely demolished the second Satoru stepped foot out on the battlefield, because they actually put up a barrier, these barriers in the series, you could make kind of specifics about them, and then made this one specifically anybody could go in but Satoru. They had to make specifically a barrier restricting this one guy that they were so fearful of, because how dangerous he is. And he, like I said, he's a very interesting role model because he's got really good synergy with the main character. The main character, who is a very odd dude, but he obviously looks up to Satoru. He sees him as a pretty well teacher, but at the same time, he has a little bit of a struggle trying to keep tabs on him. But Satoru is also just a known person within the series. He's pretty much famous. Like when some of the members of the Kyoto school come by, they're like, "Oh shit, that's the Satoru Gojo." He's a big deal. So his whole character and his influence throughout the series doesn't just limit to the main character and who he's teaching, but also rather anybody who knows him. Because the gap between something like him and say like Yami or Gildarts is that he's famous within the world. He's much more in that position, cred-wise, as All Might, because even if you've never met him, you've probably heard of him as long as you're in the Jujutsu kind of sorcerer communities. And it's not just the main character, because the rival character actually gets a really good lesson from him, because the dude Megumi, he was always trying to be a team player. He was always trying to do his best to not only fit into the situation, but he wanted to help others on his team. And Satoru explains to him that though being a team player and being a good asset is a useful ability, you have to keep in mind, still you, and it's okay to be selfish and want to do something for yourself every once in a while. And that's actually what helped Megumi win the fight he was in, because he wasn't ever kind of thinking about his own position and capabilities and everything. He was always thinking about how exactly he could benefit those around him. And the only attack that he really had in mind of situations like that was this super risky trump card. And then he had his flashback of Satoru teaching him about like I said, being a little thoughtful about yourself, being a little selfish isn't a bad thing, and that's what helped pull him through in the fight. Satoru understands people, I think, in a different way than a lot of characters, and especially role models. Like I said, he taught somebody about being selfish and how it can be beneficiary. And when you get these role models, they're much more generally teaching out more wholesome good lessons, and much more kind of friendlier, I would say, life lessons. All Might in general teaching Deku about things like courage and strength as a hero. Gildart's teaching Natsu about recognizing your own fear and weakness and how you can benefit from it. Yami in general just trying to help Asa gain more confidence in what he's doing in a battle assessment situation. Where Satoru is just listen, I know it's probably not a nice thing to say, but you need to be a little selfish in order to really want to expand as much as you can as a person, as a fighter. Which I really like. I like that he has that a little bit of a non-conventional role model, where in a normal case you'd probably think that guys are maybe not bad, but it's I want to say a little bit shady maybe of lessons, because telling him to do something like that would kind of fall more into maybe an anti-hero kind of area, not evil, but definitely not in a nice guy lesson. But everything about his layout in this has been his own style, and I think that's one of the things that also really helps him. He doesn't feel like some other character in a new package. I don't know any other people within his line that really can be linked to him. The closest character that I've realized I think could maybe compare a little bit to Satoru is Kisuke Urahara from Bleach, which is I think a fair one, because Akutami is actually a fully admitted big Bleach fan, and Kisuke was one of the most I would say popular members of the overall community of the series because of his personality. And you can kind of see it in the way that they fight in a little bit sometimes of a goofy manner, of just kind of they know that they're so much above whoever they're against, so they take a little bit of a piss out of it, which I like. Not the exact same. Like Kisuke wasn't this level of arrogant, and his teachings were much more of like, I would say friendly, like I said, where Satoru was just like, listen, I'm gonna be real with you. This is how I think that you need to go about this. Like when he was helping teach the main character Yuji about like, control over cursed energy, he had him watch movies while holding on to like this kind of like cursed tool, like this little stuffed animal that if he didn't put a right amount of cursed energy into it, it would just come to pretty much be active and beat the hell out of him, which was nice. And then like when he goes to, like I said, when he's fighting this dude Jugo, who's this pretty powerful cursed spirit, this volcano dude, he literally in mid combat leaves and comes back, and he's like, all right, this guy is not a threat to me, so I'm going to use him as a training tool. And even like this panel right here, his powers are really cool because they're all based around space, because his abilities are like kind of like cursed energy manipulation, and he has these things called the Six Eyes, whose full extent of power isn't known, but one of the things he can do is he can pretty much like see an understanding of people's abilities, but also like he has some sort of sense, because like that panel where you see Jugo coming up from behind him in that kind of layout with him, the full moon, Satoru wasn't even looking at him, and it wasn't like oh, I just sense an enemy nearby. Apparently his eyes have some form of a special ability trait, and you can see they look very strange in this one. You can in their animation, because what's funny is he actually got a voice actor and animated in short specials before the series itself got an anime, and even in the first Jump Festa, Satoru is the character that represented Jujutsu Kaisen, not the main character of neither Volume 0 or the main series, which I think is absolutely hilarious and interesting. Of his character, shows how Chadley he is when, hey, it's our first year at the the big fair of Weekly Shonen Jump and just Jump in general, and it's like, all right, Jujutsu Kaisen, time to shine. Yuji's like, all right, I got this. Let me stand up out in line, and Satoru's like, no, don't worry, I'll go out there. But his space abilities are really cool because he pretty much has like this layer of cursed energy around his body that he keeps active, called the Infinity, which is just the closer you get to him, it'll just slow down until you can't really hit him. His ability actually extends to the point they explain in Volume 0 that it can manipulate space at the atomic level, which is pretty wild. And in his trump card, because he's pretty hacks in general, and then he's got this thing, because in the series they have this ability called area expansion, where you pretty much create like an innate zone around you specific to you, and it will just like enhance you in general, and it will give you like some additional ability. And Satoru's is called immeasurable void, where he will just hyperactivate your senses to like what they need to survive. And like Jugo just kept thinking over and over and over, like his brain was just like overtaking information, and he was not realizing the situation that was happening. He wasn't able to move, and Satoru just goes up and pulls his head off his body. Like the dude's really raw. I don't remember the name of the villain that like a serial killer that likes to turn people into ornaments. But when Satoru pretty much went up against him, he just crushed his like instantly. He just crushed the dude's arms and legs and then walked away to go deal with Hanami. Like the dude is just raw as hell. And it's really cool because not only that, like he's this Paragon character, but one of the main villains, Geto, again, I won't go too much into the current story, but they have pretty much the same kind of chemistry you get between a main character and his rival, which I think is really cool. And Geto is now one of the big villains of the series. He's one of the also only one of the only special grade humans. But I've been digging Satoru's character since he showed up in the series. I just wanted to stick around forever. He's like the one character in the series I don't think he'll ever die and be worth it. Like the main character, the main cast, they're not going to die because they're the main cast, but, well, assumingly. But Satoru is like, that Paragon. He's beloved, but, death is still possible for his character at some point in the series. I would like for it to never happen. I like him too much. But other than that, tell me in the comment section below what you think about this character. How much do you enjoy him if you read Jujutsu Kaisen? If you haven't, read Jujutsu Kaisen. Not only is it a good series, but this character is extremely fantastic, and you'll love him. Like I said, I don't think I've met anybody that doesn't like Satoru Gojo. Just an absolute boss. He's fun. He's great anytime he ever steps out on the panel. and it just gives a good show, whether it's in fights or dialogue. Like other what was it? The other boss of one of the schools. I think it was the Kyoto school. She's extrememely strong, but not compared to Satoru. And since like they were kids, even when she was higher ranked than him, Satoru just messed with her all the time. So and it doesn't seem to be like some like cutesy relationship. I think in her like actual character description, she straight hates him. Other than that, comment below, thumbs up the video, befriend the like button and the subscribe button, and check out my other videos. From that, I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and I thank you all for listening. Bye.